Maybe I'll be back in a little bit, though. I'm going to go eat. If I'm not, just know that it was really an honor and a pleasure to serve this movement and get the word out and the truth out, you know? But don't get so focused on the monsters out there that you become one yourself and you let the darkness seep in.
Welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. Tonight we're going to discuss the mysterious death of the Hollywood actor Isaac Kappy, whose death has been ruled a suicide by the Arizona Department of Public Safety. We're going to look at the moments leading up to this tragedy and a whole lot more. So you guys are going to stick around and check this out. Hi, I'm Craig, and welcome to another episode of Just Informed Talk. I always like to begin by saying thank you to everybody who's hit that subscribe button. If you haven't, come here to the landing page, click the big red subscribe button, make sure you hit the bell for notifications so you get notified when these videos get posted, and don't forget to hit the like button if you guys like this content and want to see more. So as you guys saw in the beginning of this video, we are discussing the mysterious suicide of Isaac Kappy. Now, Isaac has become kind of a controversial figure for his own reports of what he believed to be an incredible evil that exists in Hollywood amongst the stars. Now, before we get into all of that, I really want to go over a few things first. Obviously, for those of you who are used to this channel, we always go over and check the cue boards first. We haven't heard anything new yet. Last post was, of course, Q Post 3335 from May 12, 2019. And with that, we're going to get right into this story, plus much more. But before we do that, I always encourage everyone to come back here to the landing page, watch these last videos. If you want to get caught up on the latest Q posts and what's been going on, as well as you should definitely come watch this particular video. This video I put up, this Hammer Time video, is an important video. It outlines some incredible facts, sets, and patterns that are going to be very important in the days coming ahead, days, weeks, months coming ahead, in order to understand where this whole Russia hoax investigation came from, why it was put against the president, and what they were trying to cover up inside the Hussein administration. But I definitely recommend everybody go watch this video and share that on your social media. So with that being said, before we get into the story of Isaac Kappy, and we're going to look at a lot of different things, I want to talk about some other news that's breaking today. Of course, you have the ex-CIA chief John Brennan lashing out against Lindsey Graham on his Twitter, of course, where he seems to be getting very nervous about the certain sets of fact patterns that are coming out. And like I said, guys, if you haven't watched this video, watch it. It explains everything about everything that you would imagine could possibly be the reason why they tried to frame President Trump with this whole Russia collusion hoax, and how we've gotten to where we are today. So with that being said, I think that you need to look at this, where John Brennan says, Senator Graham and his ilk bear responsibility for damage being done to our national interests at home and abroad by acquiescing to Mr. Trump's incompetence, corruption, and malevolence. Who will shun political expedience and do what is right? Who among you is wise and understanding? And, you know, this is, I think, they're just, he's grasping at, you know, whatever he can at this point, because he realizes that the music stopped and there are no chairs left. And he knows that what he did with the Obama administration, which I'll go into it briefly here. This is a part of the story that was uncovered by Mary Fanning and Alan Jones over at the AmericanReport.org. You guys should go check out their work if you haven't yet. This story broke on the 12th, where they're connecting the dots between the secret surveillance system called the Hammer, which was exposed by WikiLeaks and Vault 7, their dump there, that is basically an incredibly powerful surveillance spy tool. And it's basically like a program software that can grant full access to any database and any set of information that exists digitally, and that is something that was being allegedly abused by the White House. And what does that mean? Well, there's a certain set of rules. As we've talked about for a long time now, the Obama administration went and got FISA warrants to go and spy on the president. Well, according to certain whistleblowers and individuals doing the reporting right now, the systems being used to spy on the American people, including President Trump, among many others, were not being predicated off of FISA warrants. They were set up illegally and used illicitly, and they were used as political, they were weaponized for political gain. And that's the allegations being brought against John Brennan, James Clapper, James Comey. They were all very much aware of this. The whistleblower Dennis Montgomery presented 47 hard drives containing evidence that basically he was the architect of the hammer. That's what it was called, commonly referred to as the hammer. And the documentation supposedly, allegedly, showed that the Obama White House was illegally using that surveillance tool without any predicate warrants or anything. They were just using it as a political tool to spy on their political opponents. So that is an incredible story, and I think that's why I wanted to talk about this story first, because John Brennan knows that his time is definitely coming for justice, because him and Comey him and Comey and Clapper, among others, were helping Obama set this up and use it through the White House Communications Agency. And the real story here actually has just to do with the fact that this is why they brought this whole Russia collusion, investigation up. This is what predicated that, because Trump found out from Admiral Rogers, I'm sure, that he was being spied on. And once he figured that out, he decided to investigate the investigators, because he knew that what they had done was illegal. And what he had done was basically just run for president. So this is an incredible story, and I think it definitely needs to be continued to be followed. Of course, Jim Baker, there's I believe this was a new drop today of Jim Baker's attorney. Here's one example of this exchange. So what happened was today they're releasing transcripts, I believe, that talk about Mark Meadows and basically the House committee that was interrogating Jim Baker having this exchange with the this is just one section that I wanted to highlight, but they're having an exchange and they're discussing the fact that Jim Baker's in criminal investigation by John Durham, the guy who was just named by Attorney General Barr to help investigate the investigators, basically. And this talks about the fact that this investigation has been going on for over a year. So that to me is really telling about where we are at now. Just to give you a reference for why this story and these stories are all connected, it's because they were all covering up the same secret. And whether it was Comey or Brennan or Clapper or Hussein or Clinton, they all knew what was going on. And apparently, allegedly, they were all involved in this grand criminal conspiracy against the American people, against private citizens like President Trump and many others. But like I said, if you want more detail on that, go back here, watch this video. It'll give you all the detail that you really need on that. And of course, here you have this exchange between the former Representative Trey Gowdy and Martha McCallum, where they're highlighting the actions of Brennan. And I want you guys to watch this clip.
And he's very defensive, obviously, about the need for any further investigation here. And here's what he said about what they were doing, what they were looking into.
I think they're just trying to, demonstrate that there was, problems with what the Obama administration did as far as it pursued this investigation. But as you point out, it went through a rigorous due process within the Department of Justice, the FBI. It was approved by the FISA court. It went through all of those steps.
The other thing that they made, that they were emphatic about in that interview was that the FISA court has an extremely high bar. They said there's no way that they would have approved any wiretap, any, surveillance of Carter Page if they didn't have that whole thing down cold. They say they don't just approve these things willy-nilly. We've heard differently, that the bar is actually quite low for approving them. What do you say?
Well, the judges are not investigators. They're only as good as the information presented to them, which is why you make the applicant swear out. You swear out an application. And when the FBI is telling you that this information's been verified, and when they're telling you it's been investigated and it's been corroborated, the judge has to rely on that. They don't get to go conduct their own separate investigations, which is why it's really important to ask the FBI agents and Comey, if you verified this information before its use, which we know you did not, but if your position is you did, tell us how. I've seen the spreadsheet, Martha. I have seen each factual assertion listed in that dossier, and then I've seen the FBI's justification. And when you're citing newspaper articles as corroboration for a factual assertion that you have made, you don't need an FBI agent to go do a Google search. And when the name Sidney Blumenthal is included as part of your corroboration, and you're the world's leading law enforcement agency, you have a problem. And you can blame it on the FISA court if you want to, but I hope Brennan is smart enough to know judges don't investigate. They have to rely on the honest word of the people presenting it to them, and if that honest word is missing, then the judge is going to make the wrong decision.
So there you saw basically what I'm talking about here, which is that Trey Gowdy's pointing out the fact that the judges who were signing off on these were basically presented evidence that they couldn't really go out and verify on their own. And we are already starting to establish the fact that the evidence they were using to verify this Steele dossier was evidence that they themselves had planted in the media, and then were trying to use that evidence as corroborating to the fact that President Trump supposedly did all this stuff in Russia. So I just thought all of this put together contextually shows you that there was an enormous amount of corruption, and that we're going to get to the bottom of it. That's what we're in the process of doing right now. So now to the main story. What happened in this case of Isaac Kappy, the mysterious death? First of all, thoughts, prayers to the family, friends, loved ones of Isaac Kappy. It is truly sad to lose anybody, and especially somebody to a tragic death such as this. So I would like to put that out there to begin with, because I'd like to be respectful as he is no longer with us. But I think that I don't know that he would disagree in us looking at what's happened here and examining it more closely, especially given some of the, well, let's just put it this way. Some of the details of this story are just, out of this world right now as far as just coincidence and what's happening. There was a lot that happened in the lead up to this. But first, the story itself right here. The Department of Public Safety releases the name of a man who died after jumping from northern Arizona bridge. Now, the story doesn't give a lot of facts, but we'll read through it. It says, Isaac Kappy, 42, has been identified by the Arizona Department of Public Safety as the man who jumped to his death at the bridge near Belmont, Arizona on Monday. Kappy forced himself off the Transwestern Road Bridge onto an Interstate 40, where he was struck by a Ford pickup truck. DPS spokesperson Bart Graves confirmed on Tuesday morning. Graves confirmed Kappy was an actor based in Albuquerque, New Mexico, who had small roles in movies such as Thor, Terminator Salvation, and Beer Fest. And it says, we don't know why Mr. Kappy took his own life. That's what Graves wrote in an email. And it goes on to say, authorities said 2 teenagers driving by got out of their vehicle and tried to physically restrain Kappy from jumping, but failed. No one else was injured during the incident, and the investigation has been closed. Kappy gained notoriety in the past year for controversial statements aimed at multiple Hollywood stars and other incidents, prompting an investigation by the Los Angeles Police Department. So what this story accurately reports is that he's a controversial figure, or he's made controversial statements. Now, those statements basically talk about some of the worst kinds of accusations you could really bring against anybody, but they had specifically to do with Seth Green and insinuations made that he was involved with some sort of trafficking / abuse syndicate, and that's pretty much, I'm gonna leave that for you guys and Isaac Kappy and you guys can go watch his material if you guys want to figure that out. What I can say about Isaac is I did know him more of as an acquaintance, and a lot of other YouTubers I knew him as well. Even I've even had one personal friend reach out and show me via text message that he, on May the 4th, so not more than 10 days ago, he actually had a conversation texting with Isaac Cappy where, he asked him how he was, and Isaac said he was great, or amazing, I think he said in the actual text, and they never heard back. That's Dustin Nemos over there at Dustin Nemos too. But other than that, I've actually seen Sean from SGT Report really commenting on this story as well. I had some interactions myself with Isaac Cappy, and this was around the time he first came forward with these allegations against Seth Green, and then he went on to make more allegations, I guess, against people like Steven Spielberg and people in Hollywood in general. And I thought he had an interesting story, and we had discussed possibly having him come on the show to have a conversation about what he was, what he thought he was uncovering, and we never ended up having that recorded interview because basically I just never really heard back from him. We had a few back and forths where we talked about his work, what he was doing, and I actually can't retrieve those messages now, unfortunately, because crazy enough, we had them on YouTube. Now, before YouTube changed its system, there was a way you could send, messages to anybody, really. So you could actually message any creator on YouTube directly. Now they've removed that feature and they've replaced it with this community tab. So, but it used to be where you could privately message everyone. So I had these conversations with Isaac Cappy in the private messenger here on YouTube, which has now been removed, and I never copied those conversations when they removed the feature. So now they've just gone into oblivion, never to be found again, it would seem. But the reason I bring that up is because we had conversations about, a couple conversations basically when he first was talking about all of this, about, how he was exposing it and what he thought of Q. And, he was a believer in the whole Q thing. He obviously was a follower. If you guys follow his work, you'll know he talked about it regularly. And he also talked about other things. But what's just really fascinating about this whole case is this, how it kind of just happened. And one of the things that really stood out to me was in his own video here, where he's basically talking about, this was his last post, I believe. It's from May 10th of 2019. And what this whole video goes over, in order to summarize it, it's an hour and 20-minute video, and it's accompanied by a final statement, if you will, here that we'll look at. But what he says here is that he did something really bad, and he doesn't tell us what it is. He says that he was involved with some deal. Apparently, it seems like it would have to do with money. He was given money, or something happened with money, and he was very ashamed of his actions, and he was very downtrodden. Just to give you an idea of what kind of state of mind he was in this last post, I'm going to play a couple excerpts just to give you an idea of what he was talking about. And because there's still nobody's been able to put together, as far as I can tell, what he was involved in. He was very clear to say that he had, in his mind, betrayed his fans. He had betrayed the movement. And this is, I'm not saying he did. I'm saying that this is what he believed in his own mind, it would seem. And that he had done something terribly wrong, but he never gets into the details of what it is, other than to say it's the worst thing you could possibly do. And a lot of people poke and prod and ask questions in this because it's a live stream with a live chat. And he says it didn't have anything to do with, crime or I don't know about crime, but kids or blackmail or anything like that. He said it had to do with money. And that was pretty much all the details he would give. And he said that he couldn't say more because other people may be at risk. So, to me, it's really sad and unfortunate, but I think it's a part of our duty, to look at this information and try to be objective and say, well, what happened? what led up to this, why did it occur, and because in his final video here, what really stood out to me is there's one segment in here where he says explicitly, he says, "I am not suicidal," which, I don't want to say that that's a definitive marker that nothing, he couldn't have changed from then till today or whatever, but I'll say this, that the people I talk to say that he says he's not suicidal. I think I don't have this message, so I'm kind of going off a conversation, going off my memory of a conversation I had months ago with him. But I actually do remember pretty vividly in that conversation him saying to me, and it almost was like jokingly, but not. He said, and I'm not suicidal, so nothing. Hope nothing happens, or something like that. And now we're seeing this happen, and when it happens, you have to ask yourself, what actually happened. And I think the worst thing we could do is not examine to look at this story and try to ask those questions, as tough as they may be. And like I said, thoughts and prayers go out to his family, his friends and loved ones. And what he was doing was obviously something he found to be profoundly important. So I want to play a couple clips if you guys want to watch these real quick, and then we'll talk.
Don't get me wrong. Children deserve to live in a world where they are treated well. I was not treated well. Jesus came from heaven to earth to die for our sins. Yeah, he did. And I have done a disservice to God. I've done a disservice to America. I've done a disservice to a lot of people. And honestly, I don't expect anyone will ever... Did I hurt a child? No, I didn't hurt a child. No, I didn't do that. I spent a lot of time avoiding the really big evil stuff, right? The big evil stuff is easy. It's easy to avoid, right? We know that hurting children is hard. We know that killing people is... Did I screw someone over? Yeah, I did. I screwed over America. I screwed over everybody, to be honest. And it happened in the blink of an eye. I didn't kill anyone, no. No, I'm not being threatened. And this is very, it's been hard to do. I've been meditating all week, thinking about stuff. I know, how is it possible? Let's talk about Judas. Let's talk about Judas. Judas loved Jesus. Judas fought for Jesus. But in the end, Judas betrayed Jesus. And it was a flippant, petty, vile decision. And it's happened again. I took some bait. I did take some bait. The truth is, there was a lot of work that went into making me do it, or inducing me to do what I did, and I didn't see it, and I was overcome by ego. I was overcome by just petty greed. What? Not even just stupid, absolutely stupid decision. And I, therefore, am a traitor. I am a traitor. And it happened in the blink of an eye. And I don't know how it happened. Well, I do know how it happened. I can tell you exactly how it happened. I accessed some very high levels of consciousness, and then right away I went way low to conscious. I went way low. And the truth is, the answer was in front of me the whole time.
You see there, what he's trying to get at. He apparently, through most of this video, he's doing a live chat conversation and saying that he did something terribly wrong. And he never really says exactly what it is. He just keeps saying that it's terrible, and in his mind he thought of it as being unforgivable. Although I would argue that God forgives us all as long as we seek repentance and we are truly repentant in our hearts. That's the beauty of Christ's forgiveness, and I do pray for his soul now that he's left us. But yeah, that was just a clip that I wanted to share. It shows you what his mindset was, and in this he does, if you want to watch this full thing, it's an hour and 20 minutes. There's a few other points that are interesting, including what I referenced before, where he actually says, hey, I'm not suicidal. And of course he goes on to talk about other things as well here, but it's just a lot of introspective thought, and him kind of looking back at his decisions regretfully. So that to me is something I thought was interesting. I'd share this story. It's truly sad. It's truly, not something that you want to report on, because it's just an awful story in and of itself. And of course, there are the questions that come up when somebody makes statements, saying, hey, I'm not suicidal. And this is not just here in this video. Like I said, recall a conversation with him where he said something in that vein to me, and other people have talked to him or heard his videos in his podcasts or whatever, his YouTube videos or Twitter streams where he makes that statement as well. Now, I'm not saying that means that things can't change, but I will say this, that it does cause anybody, I think, who's logically looking at this to go, okay, well, this was a open and shut pretty quickly by the Arizona Department of Public Safety, and you just have to ask yourself what actually might have happened, other than the things that we already know. So that to me is really where the questions come in. But as I said, rest in peace, Isaac, and thank you, guys, for watching this video, and obviously, say a prayer for his family and him, and yeah, that's really what I wanted to share as well. But that's gonna basically wrap it up. Before we go, few ways you can help out the channel. Come here, click the big red subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications so you get notified. Make sure you watch these videos, share them on your social media, get the word out there. Also, leave your thoughts, theories, and insights below. I want to hear what you guys have to think about this whole thing. And of course, you can support us on Patreon, the Just Informed Talk channel, patreon.com/JustInformedTalk. You come here, link will be in the description, click this button to become a patron. It's a monthly donation. You guys help create content on this channel when you do that. So thank you. I also have a GoFundMe set up if you want to make a one-time or anonymous donation. Also, you can come find me over here on Twitter at JustInformedYou, on Twitter at JustInformedYou is the handle. And you can check out JustInformedNews.com, the official website for Just Informed Talk, where you get links to the Q stuff, links to different news websites, breaking news articles, and of course the latest videos from the channel here as well for you to watch. So that's a good tool for you guys to use. I always encourage you to go check that out. So before we go, we do a segment at the end of each one of these videos called God's Grace is Greater, where we talk about God's grace and how it is truly greater. So for today, I'm just going to read this piece of scripture, and then we're going to wrap it up. It's Psalm 23. And this is, for Isaac and what's happened. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd. There is nothing I lack. He lets me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He renews my life. He leads me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even when I go through the darkest valley, I fear no danger, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Only goodness and faithful love will pursue me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord as long as I live." So that's going to wrap it up for me. I want to say thank you guys for watching this episode, and thank you for joining me here on Just Informed Talk. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Now's a great time to do it. And hit that like button if you guys, the thumbs up button if you guys want to see more content like this. But that's going to wrap it up for me. I want to say thank you for watching Just Informed Talk. My name is Craig. Godspeed and God bless each and every one of you, Patriots.